Hello everyone! Welcome back to Brandao Collection. It's been some time since we've posted a video here on our channel, so I thought a great way to start off the brand new year would be to post a Hot Toys collection video. Now we're going to take some time going through the individual shelves of our Hot Toys collection, take a look at the things that have entered our collection since our last Hot Toys collection video, and also go over the items that have actually left our collection. There's been a major change and we've downsized significantly over the last few months. Now, before we jump into things, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new videos. We have some exciting things coming in the very near future, and you're not going to want to miss everything we have to show you here at Brandao Collection. So sit back, relax, and we'll take a look at our Hot Toys collection. Starting with the first case on the far right side of the main wall, at the top of the case we have Bruce Banner and the Hulk from the first Avengers film. We used to have the entire lineup of all the figures from the original Avengers, and we've downsized now to we just have Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and we have the original Loki from the first film as well. All the others have left our collection over the last year. Right below in the first official shelf is our representation of Season 1 of one of our all-time favorite TV shows, The Mandalorian. We have the original version of The Mandalorian, the Durasteel version with his original base, and we've attached to it the hover pram with little Grogu, Baby Yoda, in there that came with the 2-pack deluxe Beskar Mando from Season 1. And then on the right side of that figure, we have the IG-11 there, which is a fantastic figure as well. He's kind of die-cast a little bit. He has plastic on there, but overall looks fantastic. And I love that now we have the room to represent Mando in not just this shelf, but also the shelf we're going to be moving to right below it. As promised, moving on below, we have our Season 2 of Mandalorian shelf. We have our Beskar Steel version of Mando from the deluxe set with Grogu from Season 2, the first version of the Beskar Steel Mando. And then we have a brand new figure that just entered the collection on the left side, which is the repaint armor of Boba Fett, which in my opinion is the best Boba Fett figure that Hot Toys has made ever up to this point. Now I only have the Return of the Jedi figure in my personal collection, but based on photos and what I have seen in hand, I think this is the best one. And then in the back is another figure that's brand new as of the last collection video, which is the Bo-Katan figure from Season 2 of Mando as well. I have it here with the Katie Sackhoff head sculpt, which I think came out great in the final product based on what those prototype photos originally showed. I think she looks incredible with the helmet on as well, but want to change things up, especially with all these helmeted characters on these last two shelves. Then right below the Mando shelves is another shelf that is Star Wars related. This goes specifically to the sequel films. We have Kylo Ren right there front and center. This is specifically the Kylo Ren figure from The Last Jedi. That base is a base that is signed by the actor who plays Kylo Ren, Adam Driver. Then to the right side of Kylo Ren, we have the Rey figure from The Rise of Skywalker with her lightsaber that shows up at the end of that film. And then on the left side of Kylo Ren, we have the First Order Stormtrooper, which is actually the version of that figure from the first of the sequel films, The Force Awakens. Then the final shelf on this DTOF is just a mix of some miscellaneous leftover figures in our Hot Toys collection. We have Crow from the Crow film, done by Hot Toys. The box that's behind him is signed by multiple cast members from the original film and the creator of the Crow comic book, James O'Barr. And then on the right side is actually the final DC figure that we have left in the collection. We actually sold off all of our DC figures to focus more on Marvel and Star Wars, but I could not get rid of this Joker, as it is one of my favorite figures in my entire collection, and of course one of the first figures that I purchased with my own money when I started my Hot Toys collection. So it has sentimental value, and of course the connection to one of my all-time favorite movies, The Dark Knight. Moving to the top of the middle DTOF, we have the Captain America figure from Avengers Endgame, which is the best version of Captain America, in my opinion, that Hot Toys has done to date. And then right next to him is the original version of Loki from the first Avengers film. Hot Toys did recently release a updated version that's technically under the Avengers Endgame line, which has had some controversy if you're following those things, but I think this original figure still has a great shelf presence, and for now that's the version that I'm going to keep here in my collection if I do decide to keep Loki in our Hot Toys collection in the very near future. Now moving to the first official shelf of the middle DTOF, we have a representation of Avengers Infinity War, which is one of my favorite MCU films. We have Captain America, the nomad or the rugged version right there front and center. On the right side of him, we have Black Panther, which is actually the figure that came from the original first Black Panther film with the Chadwick Boseman head sculpt there. Then on the left side of Captain America, we have Bucky, once again from Avengers Infinity War. And then behind all of them, we have Thor from Infinity War with his lightning effects there and holding on to Stormbreaker. Right below the Infinity War shelf is our Spider-Man shelf, which has various different versions of the different Spider-Men. We have the homemade suit. This is specifically the version from Far From Home, which is from Mysterio's dream sequence, but it could be used for either one of those first two Spider-Man films in the MCU. Then in the middle, we have Miles Morales from the Spider-Man PS4 video game. To the right side of him, we have the original tech suit from the first MCU Spider-Man film, Spider-Man Homecoming. Behind, we have two other figures from the PS4 Spider-Man video game. We have the Spider-Man 2099 suit, and we also have the Scarlet Spider suit, the Ben Reilly suit there as well. Hidden all the way in the back is a third-party kind of knockoff version of Stan Lee. It is not the original Hot Toys figure. It's one I found for a little bit cheaper on the internet as just a representation of the man himself in the Marvel collection. But as you can see, he's kind of hidden back there, so I'm not sure how much longer he'll stick around in the collection since that shelf is looking a little crowded. But we'll see what the future holds for Stan here in the collection. Moving back into the world of Star Wars, we have our Empire Strikes Back shelf. We have the Empire Strikes Back version of Darth Vader, which is definitively the best version of Darth Vader that Hot Toys has and will make. That is my opinion, but that's where I'm gonna stand on that. Behind him is the Sideshow Collectibles original version of the Snowtrooper. To the right side of him is a figure that is new as of the last time we did a collection video, which is the Hoth Snowspeeder version of Luke Skywalker, one of my favorite looks of his in all of the original films. And then in front of him, we have the Empire Strikes Back version of Yoda with the secondary head sculpt, using the Force and being all meditative and being just the master Jedi that he is. And then on the final shelf of this middle DTOF, we have the incredible Jazz Inc. diorama of the Hoth Rebel base with the Hot Toys Princess Leia from Empire Strikes Back there just to add a little extra dimension. If you haven't already, we do have a video here on our channel that we posted last year that goes over and takes a look at all the details of this incredible diorama. So we'll post a link to that video in the description below. You're not going to want to miss and take a look at that video. And then we move to the final DTOF, at least for this main wall, which is the third one on the far left. And starting at the top, we have two other Marvel figures. We have Black Widow from Avengers Endgame, which is the best Black Widow. I don't have the version from the solo film, but I think this one does as a good representation. And then to the right side is a figure we actually just recently got in a few weeks ago, which is the Spider-Man integrated suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. So this is the first of the main three Spider-Man that we're gonna have and plan on getting into the collection. I already have the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man on order. Hopefully Hot Toys puts the Andrew Garfield one up for order very soon. But once those two other figures are in, we'll put up a whole diorama of those three, recreating the end of my favorite Spider-Man film, Spider-Man No Way Home. Moving down to the next shelf, we have our Guardians of the Galaxy. The figures that are still remaining here in the collection are the Volume 2 version of Star-Lord. Right behind him, we have one of the all-time best head sculpts on a 1/6 scale figure, and that is the Yondu figure once again from Volume 2. Then we have Gamora, another Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 figure, which I think is a great improvement on the original version of Gamora. And then behind her is Nebula. This is specifically the version from the Avengers Endgame line. Right now, the Guardians are still here in our collection, but as you notice, Rocket and Groot are no longer in the collection, and the Guardians may or may not stick around for much longer, but we'll see the next time we post a video if they're still here in our Marvel Hot Toys collection. Right below the Guardians is kind of a hodgepodge of different MCU figures. We have the Mark 7 from the first Avengers film. This is specifically the die-cast version that came out a few years ago. This is my favorite Iron Man suit, which is why it is currently the only Iron Man suit that I still own, just because it is my favorite, and I have to represent, of course, the man who started the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. To the right side, we have the Iron Spider from Avengers Infinity War, and then behind them is Doctor Strange. This is specifically the Doctor Strange figure from the first solo film. There's been many versions of Doctor Strange that Hot Toys has made since this one, but I still think that this is the best one they've done to date. We'll see what happens when the Multiverse of Madness figure officially releases, but right now, I love the original solo version of this character, and that's the one that's represented right here in our collection. The next shelf right below is our Back to the Future shelf. Here we have the original version of the Hot Toys Marty McFly from the first Back to the Future film, and the box here is signed by the entire original cast of the first film. You have Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Tom Wilson. You have Harry Walters Jr., who played Marvin Berry. You have Billy Zane on here. You have the Principal Strickland is on here as well. So pretty much the entire original cast and the main characters. Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer in the original film, on here as well. One of my prized possessions in my entire collection, whether it be 1/6 scales, autograph, or anything like that. This is a piece that will stay with me forever and always be displayed in a prominent place, and I love looking at it every single day. It's just one of those pieces that will just stick with me, as you would think it would, based on its meaning and just how great it looks here in our collection. And the final shelf on this DTOF is our Doctor Who shelf, which everything looks exactly the same as it was in our last collection video. I haven't even changed the poses. These are other figures that may or may not stick around in the near future, since they don't have as much prominence as some of the other characters we know and love here, but I do love the Doctors that are represented here. The 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, being my personal all-time favorite Doctor. Then we have the 4th Doctor, my favorite of the classic Doctor Who's. And then we have Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor, which he was actually the Doctor that was on at the time when I got into Doctor Who. So each of these figures have a soft spot for me, but at the same time, they're kind of at a place with the figures that I personally collect and focus on at this point in my collecting hobby. So we'll see, but as of right now, represented right here on the shelf with the same poses as we've left them in for the last few years. Moving on to the final DTOF in our collection room, we have here at the top Ed 209, the second version that was released in 2014. Unfortunately, this figure is getting some significant dome cracking on that rubber dome of this figure. It is a common issue with this figure, no matter what part of the world you live in, no matter what your atmosphere or your weather type may be. It's just something that's going to happen over time, no matter where this figure may be sitting. It's unfortunate, but for now, the figure is sticking around in the collection as a representation of one of my all-time favorite films. On the first shelf of this DTOF is our Johnny Depp shelf, which hasn't changed very much since the last collection video. We have the same figures here. We have Captain Jack Sparrow. We have Grindelwald from the second Fantastic Beasts film before they recast that character. Then we have Sweeney Todd from Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. And then in the back there, we have Ichabod Crane from the Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow film, which, fun fact, was the first R-rated film that I watched at an age where I probably should not have been watching R-rated films, but put a effect on me and kind of led me in the direction of the films that I love today and my taste when it comes to movies. So I have to give it some credit in those cases. But my favorite actor of all time, Johnny Depp, no matter what you want to say, is represented here on this shelf. Right below Johnny Depp's shelf is kind of our action hero shelf. We have RoboCop, speaking of the Ed 209 we talked about earlier. We have the diecast version of RoboCop, the second version from 2014, right there front and center. To the left side, we have the battle damage version of the T-800 from Terminator 2, Judgment Day. And then on the right side is the first ever Hot Toys figure that ever entered my Hot Toys collection, which is King Leonidas from 300. That figure is really only here because it is the first ever figure that I got as a gift that started this whole crazy collection in the first place. So we'll see. He has more sentimental value than anything compared to how great additional head sculpts are, how great these other figures are. If it wasn't for that sentimental, probably wouldn't be here still, but that sentimental is keeping him on there just because he is that first ever figure. Now moving into our representation of horror films, and we have a whole shelf dedicated just to the Hot Toys Pennywise the Clown, specifically from Chapter 2 of It. This is an amazing figure. I love how posable it is, all the different poses you can actually put it in, and it looks great in those different poses. We just recently changed it to this one holding the balloon. I had it in a dancing pose for a very long time and thought, we'll change it up a bit. And no matter what pose I put him in, he looks terrifying, he looks fantastic. And I love the base that it came with that sewage drain, where you can put the additional head sculpt in the sewage drain, so that way you still have that display option available even when you're not using the head sculpt. Just something great all the way around when it comes to this figure. Then the final shelf in the last DTOF, which is our general horror movie shelf. We have crammed in here a lot of different icons throughout the history of horror. Of course, in the front you have Freddy Krueger, my personal favorite of the 80s slasher icons. Then to the left we have a more modern character, which is the Nun from the Conjuring universe. Then in the back there we have Ghostface from the Scream films, which have seen a big resurgence over the last two new films. Then we have Michael Myers from the original 1978 film. This is the version done by Trick or Treat Studios. And then all the way in the back right is a Jason Voorhees figure, which I personally made. I made it out of a mix of a couple other Sideshow figures over the years, and I painted them myself. Nothing too amazing, but it is something that I put together myself, just as a representation of all the different versions of Jason. And then finally we have our Star Wars shelf, which is on the left side of our collection room, that has all of our Hot Toys figures that are Star Wars related, going in chronological order from the prequel films all the way to the sequel films. So we'll go through individually and take a look at some of the figures that are up here on this shelf. First off, we start with the Star Wars prequel films. Starting with the first DX version of Darth Maul. I used to have the solo version as well, but just to downsize and have one version of this character, I thought the best version was the Phantom Menace version, which I've had in many different poses since I've owned him, and I really love this figure. Right next to Darth Maul, we have a Qui-Gon Jinn figure, once again from the Phantom Menace. Hopefully sometime in the future Hot Toys decides to make a Padawan version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then we could have a Duel of Fates set up. That'd be really cool. I know that they're moving more into the Attack of the Clones line, which is actually something we will transition to next. For Attack of the Clones, currently we just have two characters from that film. We have Count Dooku front and center right there, and then we have Jango Fett in the back. Both of these figures by Hot Toys. I used to own the Sideshow Collectibles version of Jango Fett many years ago, but I sold that one off, and I'm happy that I did, because the Hot Toys one is significantly better than that old Sideshow Collectibles one, and I love all the accessories it comes with, and once again, a representation of the prequels, which is getting, thankfully, a lot more love nowadays than what it used to get. And just to round things out with the prequel collection, we have a collection of Revenge of the Sith and Clone Wars represented in here as well. We have the original version of Anakin Skywalker from Episode 3. We have Captain Rex from the Clone Wars animated TV show. And then we have Obi-Wan Kenobi, the deluxe version, once again from Revenge of the Sith. I love this little trio here together, giving that transition from the prequel films to the storyline of the original trilogy. Speaking of transitions between the prequels and the original trilogy, we have Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, which in my opinion is the best of all the Disney films that have been made up to this point. First, right in the front there, we have director Krennic, which is one of the best head sculpts Hot Toys has done on any of the Star Wars figures so far. On the left side of him, we have the Rebels. We have Jyn Erso running with the Death Star plans. We have K2SO right behind her. Then on the right side of director Krennic, we have a Death Trooper hidden kind of all the way in the back there, hard to see. And then to the right side of him as well, we have the Shore Trooper. This is the more recent version that came out a few years ago as part of the re-release between Rogue One and the Mandalorian line. Behind them is an 11x14 photo signed by the actress who plays Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones. Moving into the original trilogy, starting off with the first film, the original Star Wars: A New Hope. Starting off with the droids, we have C-3PO. This is the Sideshow Collectibles version of him. Then in front of him is the Hot Toys original trilogy version of R2-D2. That comes with the Princess Leia hologram and a lot other accessories. Then next to them is Luke Skywalker, the farm boy version, then the original version of Princess Leia. Behind them is Han and Chewie, with the best version of Chewbacca that Hot Toys has done to date. There's only one other one, which is the Force Awakens one, and that one looks a little rough around the edges. And then moving forward, we have Grand Moff Tarkin and the original release of Darth Vader. This is the first ever Darth Vader that Hot Toys made officially. Behind them, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi and a Sand Trooper. And then finishing off A New Hope, we have one of the original Stormtroopers right next to Darth Vader. Since we have our Empire Strikes Back figures in our DTOF shelves, we're actually going to skip ahead to Return of the Jedi. And the first two figures we're going to see here is the 2-pack of Princess Leia in her Endor gear with Wicket the Ewok right next to her. Rounding out our original trilogy figures, we have the Return of the Jedi version of Boba Fett, the first version of Boba Fett that I had in my collection. Then we have Bossk, the bounty hunter, in the back. He's kind of just left over from the Empire Strikes Back collection. This one's specifically done by Sideshow Collectibles. Then we have the Return of the Jedi version of Luke Skywalker, and next to him, the Return of the Jedi version of Emperor Palpatine. And finally, wrapping up with the final figures in our Hot Toys collection to date, we have our sequel characters from the Disney Star Wars era. Starting off with Finn from The Force Awakens, next to him the first release of Rey, the scavenger version, then next to her we have BB-8, specifically from The Last Jedi, made by Hot Toys. Moving over from BB-8, we have Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens as well. And then the final figure, we have Rey from The Last Jedi. This collection of sequel characters by Hot Toys is where we've done a good amount of significant downsizing when it comes to the figures in this collection. We've focused a bit more to our favorite characters from the sequel films, or at least one representation of the characters that mean the most in those films, and rounded out our Star Wars shelf from there. So that is our entire Hot Toys collection as of January of 2023. Thank you so much for taking some time to go through our collection here and take a look at what we have and what is going on in our collection as of this time. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like it, hit that subscribe button, and also hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new videos. We have some more exciting content to come throughout the rest of 2023 and beyond. You're not going to want to miss all these exciting things that we're going to bring to you. Thank you once again, and as always, keep on collecting.